What if I told you that there are boundaries in this world that are not marked by fences or walls, but by blood and ancient covenants? There are places on this earth where the soil itself remembers every drop of sweat and every scream of pain. Imagine a factory, decaying and industrial, hidden deep within the humid, suffocating embrace of an Indonesian forest. This is not just a place of labor. It is a fortress of the unseen. It is a domain where the Jinn's entities of smokeless fire hold dominion. In this place, the rules of the living are secondary to the rules of the dead. But what happens when human arrogance shatters those rules? What happens when two people, blinded by lust and greed, trespass into a holy sanctuary of the spirits and commit a sin so profound it wakes a sleeping army of demons? The consequences are not just personal. They are catastrophic. The wrath of the Jinn does not discriminate. It spills over like boiling oil, burning the innocent alongside the guilty. To survive, a sacrifice must be made, a debt must be paid. And sometimes the only currency accepted is a soul for a soul. Welcome to the terrifying true story of the Public Gola factory. Our nightmare begins in the year 2003 on the humid, tropical island of Java. The air is thick with moisture and the buzzing of insects as we see an old, rusted truck rattling down a desolate dirt road. The vehicle groans under its own weight, struggling against the rough terrain of the jungle. This isn't just a transport truck. It belongs to a massive, secluded sugar factory located deep in the wilderness. It is the harvest season, a time when the cane fields are ripe and the demand for labor is high. The factory, desperate for hands to feed its insatiable machines, has sent this truck to collect seasonal workers from the neighboring villages. Inside the back of this truck, bouncing along with every pothole, sits a group of young, hopeful villagers. They are mostly kids, barely adults, looking to make some extra money for their families during the season. Among this crowd of laughing, chatting workers are three young women who will find themselves at the epicenter of a supernatural storm. Inda, her friend Ning, and a girl named Wadi. For Wadi, just getting on this truck was a battle. Her mother had fought fiercely to keep her home, perhaps sensing with a mother's intuition that this journey would end in tragedy. But Wadi was stubborn, driven by a motivation stronger than money. She wasn't just here for the work, she was here for love. Her fiancé, a handsome young man named Hendra, was also part of this work crew. They were young, deeply in love, and planning to get married soon. This job was supposed to be their stepping stone, a way to build a small nest egg for their future life together. The atmosphere in the truck is electric with anticipation. Inda has her eyes on a quiet, religious young man named Fadil, who is also squeezed into the truck. Wadi and Ning are practically inseparable, best friends sharing secrets and giggles, thrilled that they get to experience this adventure together. Another girl, Rani from a different village, joins them, adding to the camaraderie. They travel through the thick woods, passing endless, swaying fields of sugarcane that look like green oceans, until finally, the looming silhouette of the factory rises against the darkening sky. It is a massive complex, a sprawling beast of iron and concrete, but it feels empty, almost hollow, as if the life has been drained out of it. They have no idea that the moment they step off that truck, they are stepping into a trap. Upon arrival, the reality of their situation begins to set in. They are greeted by the stern, no-nonsense face of Mrs. Marnie, the factory manager. She doesn't waste time with pleasantries or warm welcomes. She is all business, assigning them to their sleeping quarters, the lodges. The girls Inda, Wadi, Ning, and Rani are assigned to a single room together. They unpack their meager belongings, trying to make the sterile, unfamiliar room feel like home. They share a meal, laughing off their nerves, but the peace is shattered almost instantly. A loud, piercing siren wails across the factory grounds, echoing off the metal walls and sending birds scattering from the trees. It is a sound of urgency, distinct and unnerving. None of the new workers know what it means. It isn't a lunch whistle. It sounds like a warning. Inda, curious and a bit unsettled by the noise, walks out onto the porch to investigate, but the grounds are eerily empty. The siren fades, leaving a heavy silence in its wake. Meanwhile, we shift our focus to Fadil. He is a devout young man, and amidst the chaos of arrival, he seeks solace in prayer. As he prepares to wash up for his prayers, the air around him seems to drop in temperature. He feels a prickling sensation on his skin, the undeniable feeling of being watched. He tries to shake it off, telling himself it's just the nerves of a new place, and stands to pray. But the moment he focuses his mind, a dark, shadowy figure flashes right in front of his face. He blinks, heart pounding, but the room is empty. The figure has vanished as quickly as it appeared. Fadl is left, standing there, shaken, unsure if his mind is playing tricks on him or if something deeply wrong permeates this place. That night, the horror creeps closer to Inda. The lodge is quiet, filled with the soft breathing of her sleeping friends. Inda wakes up, her throat parched, and decides to head to the communal kitchen for some water. As she stands there, drinking, the silence is broken by a scratching sound coming from the ceiling like claws dragging across wood. Before she can process it, she hears heavy footsteps, someone running past her, just out of sight. Her heart jumps into her throat. She calls out to Ning and Rani, thinking they are playing a cruel prank on her. She walks to the door and sees something that chills her blood. The key in the lock is swinging back and forth. Someone has just unlocked the door and left. Driven by a mix of fear and an inexplicable curiosity, Inda opens the door and peers into the darkness. Far ahead, barely visible in the gloom, she sees a figure walking away from the lodges. It looks human, perhaps one of the workers, so she decides to follow. She trails the figure all the way out of the residential area and toward the looming, skeletal structure of the factory itself. The figure disappears inside the main factory building. Inda enters the factory. It is a maze of metal beams, shadows, and silent machinery. The air smells of rust and old sugar. She hears a strange, rhythmic sound echoing from a room deep inside the complex and moves toward it. What she doesn't see is terrifying. As she creeps down the dimly lit hallway, the twisted, hunched figure of an old woman, a spirit, a Jinn, is stalking right behind her, matching her steps. Inda reaches a large, heavy door. The sounds are coming from behind it. It sounds like a party music, laughter, a celebration, but the door is locked tight. She finds a small gap near the top, a ventilation space, and climbs up to peek through. Inside, she sees a bizarre, surreal sight. A group of people, or things that look like people, are dancing. They are dressed in old-fashioned clothing, moving in perfect unison. They are playing strange, ancient instruments that look like nothing she has ever seen. It looks like a royal court from a forgotten century. Suddenly, the music stops abruptly. In perfect synchronization, every single figure in that room snaps their head up and looks directly at Inda. Their eyes are voids. Terror seizes her. She stumbles back, falling to the floor, and scrambles to her feet to run. As she flees, a monstrous shape bursts out of the factory door behind her, roaring in silence, but she manages to escape, sprinting all the way back to the safety of her room. The next morning, the sun rises over the jungle, casting long shadows, but the dread in Inda's heart remains. It is their first official day of work. The other girls are excited, buzzing with the prospect of earning money, but Inda is haunted by what she saw. She pulls Wadi and Ning aside, her voice trembling, and asks them point blank, "Did any of you leave the room last night?" They both look at her with confusion and deny it instantly. "We were asleep, Inda. You were dreaming," they say. Inda stays silent, keeping her dark discovery to herself, but the seed of paranoia is planted deep in her mind. Mrs. Marnie gathers the entire workforce for a mandatory morning briefing. She stands on a platform, flanked by her assistant, Saman, and two stern-looking security guards. But this isn't a normal safety briefing about machinery or work hours. She lays down the law, and the rules are chillingly specific. "Listen closely," Mrs. Marnie commands. Rule number 1. Immediately after the Maghreb prayer at dusk, a siren will sound. This marks the beginning of the yellow hour. During this time, everyone must stop what they are doing and return to their lodges immediately. Do not linger. She pauses, letting the weight of her words settle. Rule number 2. At 9 p.m. sharp, a second siren will ring. This marks the red hour. Once that siren sounds, no one, I repeat, absolutely no one, is allowed to step a foot outside their rooms. It is strictly forbidden and deadly dangerous. Inda feels a cold knot tighten in her stomach. She realizes with horror that last night she was wandering the grounds alone deep into the night. She had unknowingly walked right into the red hour, into the danger zone, and miraculously survived. The memory of the dancing figures and the stalking entity feels even more menacing now that she knows she violated a sacred rule. The work begins. The women are assigned office duties or light labor, sorting paperwork, and managing logistics, while the men are sent out to the grueling heat of the cane fields. Inda is chosen to be Mrs. Marnie's personal assistant, a position of trust. Later that day, while walking to the main office with a stack of reports, Inda spots a baby bird that has fallen from its nest in a large tree. The tiny creature is helpless. Gently, Inda picks it up and carefully places it back into the safety of its nest. A mysterious local woman, who has been watching her from the shadows, speaks up. "Good deeds bring good rewards," she says cryptically. "You will receive the fruit of this kindness." It feels like a prophecy, a small glimmer of light in a place that feels increasingly dark. Out in the cane fields, Fadl is having a much more terrifying experience. The sun beats down on his back as he hacks away at the thick sugarcane stalks. Suddenly, as he clears a patch of cane, he uncovers a nest of snakes. They rear up, hissing, fangs bared, ready to strike him. Fadl freezes, his heart hammering against his ribs. He begins to chant the name of Allah, praying fervently for protection. Miraculously, as if compelled by an unseen force, the snakes lower their heads and slither away into the undergrowth without biting him. Fadl exhales, wiping sweat from his brow, realizing this place is crawling with more than just insects. During the lunch break, 2 workers named Frankie and DW start spinning yarns to scare the newcomers. They sit under the shade of a tree, smoking cigarettes, and tell the dark, bloody history of the factory. "Years ago," Frankie whispers, leaning in, "there was a massive fire here. Many workers were trapped inside drunk, careless, and they burned alive." He gestures around the compound. "That is why the yellow and red hours exist. The sirens aren't for the living. They are to keep the living away from the dead." The legends say the restless, angry spirits of those burned workers still roam the grounds at night. They claim the factory when the sun goes down. Y adds, his eyes wide. If they find a human during the red hour, well, let's just say you don't want to find out. Hendra, Wadi's fiancé, scoffs at this. He is a skeptic, a man of the modern world, and dismisses it all as campfire stories designed to scare children. "It's just gossip," he says, standing up and walking away, arrogant and unafraid. But ignorance in this place is not bliss, it is dangerous. Dusk falls rapidly in the jungle. The Maghreb prayer time arrives, painting the sky in shades of bruised purple and orange. Inda is still working late in the office, engrossed in her tasks, trying to finish before the siren. Suddenly, she senses she is not alone. The air grows heavy and stagnant. She turns her head and screams. The horrifying visage of an old woman, the same one from the night before, is standing right next to her. The entity opens its mouth, a black abyss, and vomits a torrent of blood all over Inda. Inda shrieks in pure terror, squeezing her eyes shut. When she opens them a split second later, the room is empty. There is no old woman, no blood on her clothes. Just the echoing silence of the office. She is shaking uncontrollably, her mind fracturing. The siren for the yellow hour blasts through the air, shattering her paralysis. She knows she has to get back to the lodge before the red hour begins. She grabs her things and runs out of the office. As she hurries down the path, she bumps into Ronnie, but Ronnie is acting strange. Instead of heading toward the safety of the lodges, Ronnie is walking deeper into the factory grounds. Confused and worried, Inda follows her. "Ronnie," she calls out, "where are you going?" "The siren went off." She catches up to her. "Did you go out last night?" Inda asks, desperate for answers. Ronnie stops dead in her tracks. She slowly turns around. Her face isn't her own anymore. She morphs, her features twisting and melting until she becomes the terrifying old woman Jinn. The entity lunges at Inda, its cold hands wrapping around her throat, choking her. Inda gasps, breaking free from the hallucination, or was it reality? And sprints all the way back to the lodge, lungs burning. She bursts into the room to find her friends Wadi, Ning, and impossibly Ronnie already there. Ronnie looks normal, sitting on her bed, totally unaware of the encounter Inda just had. Inda stares at her, terrified, her mind is reeling. She is losing her grip on what is real and what is a manifestation of this cursed place. That evening, the atmosphere of dread thickens. The security guards, Frankie and DWI, are playing cards in their guard post to kill time. The senior guard decides to drop some heavy lore on them. He explains that the locals from the nearby villages refuse to work here because they know the truth. That's why the factory trucks in people from far-off villages like them, people who do know the history. He points toward a dilapidated structure in the distance. The West Building, he whispers. That used to be part of a mental hospital before the factory expanded. That's where the fire started. That's where the patients died. He warns them that after 9 p.m., the spirits of the burned victims wander the grounds. If a spirit follows you, he says grimly, don't look back, just apologize and run. DWI, who is naturally cowardly, is instantly terrified by this story. He immediately stands up, apologizes to the thin air, just in case, and starts running for his room. Frankie laughs at him, mocking his fear, telling him to relax and that he has plenty of time. But then the 9 p.m. siren wails. The red hour has begun. Frankie's bravado vanishes in an instant. He sprints past DW, leaving him in the dust. DWI panics, his legs pumping, losing his shoes in his scramble to get inside. Frankie slams the door shut, locking DW out for a terrifying second before realizing and letting him in. DW is hyperventilating. He looks at the reflection in the glass of the door and sees a burning corpse standing right behind him. He screams. From the darkness outside, someone or something throws his lost shoe at him, hitting him. They scramble inside the room and bolt the door, shaking. Inside the girl's room, the tension is of a different kind. Wadi is worried sick about Hendra. Her mother had placed a huge, almost impossible dowry condition on their marriage, a sum of money Hendra couldn't possibly afford. She fears the pressure is breaking him. She asks Ning, "What would you do in my shoes?" Ning, who is washing her face, replies with a strange coldness, "I wouldn't marry until I had my own money. I wouldn't depend on anyone. But that's me." "You're different." There is a strange edge to Ning's voice, a hint of resentment or perhaps jealousy. Wadi tries to talk to Inda, asking for her opinion, but Inda is catatonic, traumatized by the ghosts she keeps seeing. She refuses to speak about it, her eyes staring into the middle distance. They sit down to eat, trying to normalize the situation. But as they lift their plates, gigantic, grotesque bugs crawl out from underneath the crockery. They recoil in disgust and horror. Suddenly, the lights flicker and die. Pitch-black darkness envelops the room. In the shadows behind Ning, we see them, the glowing, charred figures of the burnt spirits. They are silent, fiery sentinels standing right behind the unsuspecting girl. Wadi bumps into Ning in the dark and screams, "Why did the power go out?" She cries. But Wadi looks outside through the window. The porch lights are on. The rest of the factory has power. The switch in their room had been physically turned off. Someone or something is in the room with them. Wadi tries to ignore it and starts to perform her ablutions for prayer. Fear is now a constant companion. Fadl is washing up for his prayer in the men's quarters when he hears unexplainable noises surrounding him. Wadi finishes her prayers and begins to take off her hijab. As the fabric slides off her head, she feels a cold breath on her neck. A Jinn is standing right behind her. She turns and her bag has been dumped out, her clothes scattered everywhere across the floor. It's a message. You are not welcome here. The next morning, rumors spread through the workforce that Hendra had a violent nightmare. Wadi approaches him, concerned, asking about the dream. But Hendra snaps at her. He is aggressive, rude, and dismissive, acting like a completely different person. He walks away, leaving Wadi in tears. Her friends try to console her, while Fadal advises everyone to stop obsessing over dreams, trying to keep the peace. But the horror is about to turn physical. Ronnie has a file she needs to deliver to a specific office on the factory grounds. Inda also has a delivery to make. Ronnie, acting oddly insistent, begs Inda to swap files with her. She pushes Inda to give her the file so she can deliver both, claiming it's on her way and it will save Inda the trip. Inda, distracted and tired, agrees and hands the file over. This decision seals Ronnie's fate. As Inda walks away, the atmosphere shifts. The world feels wrong. She sees a heavy transport truck moving on a path it shouldn't be on. She looks over and sees Ronnie sitting on a bench near the tracks. "Ronnie," she calls out. Ronnie turns, her face is twisted in a demonic glare. She stares at Enda with pure hate. Suddenly, a massive cart filled with heavy sugarcane comes barreling down the track toward Ronnie. Enda screams and runs to save her, but time seems to stop. The heavy load crashes down. Ronnie is crushed, buried under the cane and the heavy machinery. It is a brutal, bloody accident, shocking in its violence. Mrs. Marnie is furious. She calls Inda into her office and blames her because it was Inda's file, Inda's responsibility. Inda leaves the office weeping. But inside, the spiritual leaders of the factory, Samin and Asi, know this was no simple workplace accident. Samin is terrified. He decides to test the spirits. He takes 3 coconuts, a traditional method of divination, and chops them open. The first one is rotten. The second one is rotten. The third one, when cracked open, is filled with wriggling maggots. "They are angry," Samin whispers, his face pale. "The Jinns have declared war." Inda, sobbing, meets Fadl. She finally breaks down and tells him everything. She tells him about the red hour she missed, the figure she followed, and the ritual she saw. "It's my fault," she cries. "I went out when I shouldn't have." Fadl listens intently. "Who did you follow?" he asks. "I don't know," Inda replies. "I lost them at the factory. But I saw the dance, I saw the Jinns performing a ritual." Fadl warns her to keep her mouth shut, or she get them all fired. Meanwhile, Samin and Asi are in full panic mode. They go to the very room where Inda saw the spirit dance. They bring 2 cows for a sacrifice. They slaughter the animals, offering the blood to appease the angry entities. "They must accept this," Asi prays, "or we are all doomed." Dusk falls again. Inda walks past Ronnie's room. Ronnie has been sent home to recover, or so they think, and hears sobbing. She enters and sees Ronnie sitting on the bed, back turned. Inda begins to apologize profusely for the accident. "I'm so sorry, Ronnie," she weeps. But then her eyes drift to the mirror on the wardrobe. The reflection doesn't show Ronnie. It shows the old woman Jinn sitting on the bed. The thing on the bed stands up. The reflection stands up. Ronnie turns around. She is covered in blood, her body mangled from the accident. The Jinn lunges from the wardrobe, attacking Inda. Wadi and Ning rush in at her screams, snapping her out of the vision. Ning tries to calm Inda down. "Ronnie is at home," she assures her. "She was sent away for treatment. Stop blaming yourself." Suddenly, they realize it's almost 9 p.m. The red hour is approaching. Wadi has prepared dinner for Hendra, but realizes she cut and deliver it and get back in time to remove her hijab and wash up before the siren. Ning offers to take it for her. "Are you sure?" Wadi asks. "Yes, I'll run," Ning says. Ning rushes to the men's lodge. Frankie opens the door, beaming. He's madly in love with Ning and thinks she's there for him. He prays every night that she will love him back. But Ning brushes past him to find Hendra. She hands him the food, saying coldly, "Wadi sent this." Fadl appears and warns Ning, "Run back, the siren is about to blow." Ning sprints back toward the girl's lodge. Halfway there, she stops. The air grows heavy. She feels eyes on her. The siren wails. She bolts inside just as the shadows around the lodge come alive with hundreds of Jinns surrounding the building. The factory is under siege. The next morning, Samin and Asi check their sacrifice. They are horrified. The Jinns did not touch the offering. The sacrifice was rejected. This means the Jinns want something else. Something more. Samin and Asi perform another desperate ritual, killing the cows again, chanting furiously, but the dread only grows. That night, the security guards are patrolling near an old well on the property. They hear a noise inside. "Is someone down there?" They call out. Slowly, the bucket rope begins to pull itself up. The handle creaks. The guards watch in horror as the bucket rises, seemingly pulled by invisible hands. They don't wait to see what comes up, they run for their lives. Fadl is in his room. As he prepares for bed, we see the reflection of a female Jinn in his wardrobe mirror, standing right behind him. He misses it. He sleeps. Later, the wardrobe door creaks open. He gets up, shuts it, and goes back to sleep. Suddenly he feels warm liquid dripping onto his face. Drop, drop, drop. He wakes up, touches his face, it's blood. He looks up. Hovering directly above him is a Jinn with no head, its severed neck raining blood down on him. He screams and sees its head lying on the pillow next to him. Morning comes. Chaos erupts. Mrs. Marnie, Samin, and the guards are running toward the old well. Fadl follows them. They look inside and recoil. There is a body down there. Samin orders the factory to be shut down immediately. While they argue, Fadl sneaks a look. It's a corpse. Samin catches him. You act like you know something, Samin says, staring into Fadl's soul. You have the sight, don't you? Tell me everything. Fadl cracks. He tells them about Inda's visions. They drag Inda in for questioning. Tell the truth, Asid demands. Who did you see that first night? Inda sobs. I saw two people walking to the west warehouse. I followed them, but I lost them. Then I saw the ritual. Who were they? Mrs. Marnie demands. Inda doesn't know. Fadl speaks up. I had a dream that night, he says. I dreamed two people entered the west warehouse. This changes everything. The west warehouse has been sealed for years due to the fire. It is a forbidden zone. Asid realizes the truth. The Jinns aren't attacking randomly. They are attacking because someone broke into their sanctuary, the west warehouse, and committed a sin. Two people violated the pact. That night, Samin and Asid perform a terrifying seance to contact the spirits. Asid wraps a whip around Samin's neck, choking him until he passes out. When Samin opens his eyes, he isn't Samin anymore, he is possessed. The voice that comes out of him is guttural and demonic. Humans and Jinns made a pact. The entity screams. Whoever broke it must die. The possessed Samin starts dancing wildly, grabbing handfuls of broken glass and chewing them, blood running down his chin. Asid threatens the entity with the whip. The possessed Samin bolts, running on all fours like a beast toward the west warehouse. The group chases him. He stops inside the dark, dusty warehouse, bowing before a massive, creepy statue. Asid snaps Samin out of the trance. She explains the history. The factory was built on Jinn land. The owner made a deal with the Jinn king, Maharato. But 7 years ago, workers disrespected the Jinns, and the Jinns burned the place down. Now it's happening again. Samin opens a wooden box at the foot of the statue. The king's treasure is gone, he gasps. The box is supposed to hold magical gold that belongs to the Jinn king. It's invisible to normal people, but the box is empty. Someone stole the Jinn's gold. Suddenly, Mrs. Marnie starts convulsing. Blood pours from her eyes, nose, and mouth. A Jinn is trying to enter her. Asid fights it off. She turns to Inda and Fadl. Find the thieves, she commands. Find the two people from your dream. They are the cause of this curse. We cut to Ning in her room. She is panicked. She opens her bag, and there, glinting in the dim light, is a pile of heavy gold jewelry. She is the thief. She tries to shove it back in her bag and run, but when she turns to the door, it's gone. The wall has sealed shut. She is trapped. The shadows lengthen. Dozens of Jinns materialize, closing in on her. She screams. The door bursts open. It's Hendra? Yes, Hendra. Wadi's fiancé. He was the man with Ning that night. He sees the gold and looks horrified. I told you not to take it. He yells. I couldn't help it, Ning cries. I was greedy. Hendra grabs her. We have to put it back now. They try to leave, but Ning sees the Jinns blocking the path. Hendra slaps her to snap her out of it, dragging her away. Meanwhile, Wadi is looking for Hendra. She runs into Inda and Fadl in the lodge. They are searching the room and find a single gold bracelet that Ning dropped. Inda hides it quickly. Wadi asks where Ning and Hendra are. Fadl looks at Inda. They both know. Fadl, Inda whispers, in your dream. Was it them? Fadl nods. Yes, it was Ning and Hendra. They tell Wadi the truth. Wadi refuses to believe it. My best friend? My fiancée? No way, she denies it furiously. Fadl insists they have to find them and take them to Mrs. Marnie immediately. Fadl goes searching. A worker begs him for help, leading him to a locker. He's inside, the worker says. Fadl opens the locker. The worker is sitting inside the locker. Fatal looks back, the man who led him there is gone. That wasn't a human, the man in the locker whispers. Suddenly the Jinn King, Maharatu, attacks Fatal, choking him. Fatal recites prayers, burning the entity with his faith, and manages to escape. Outside, Frankie and DW, I see a man on a bicycle approaching them in the dark. As he passes, he stops and turns his head. He has no face. The guards scream and flee into the night. The climax builds. Ning and Hendra try to return the gold to the West warehouse, but they are caught by the security guards who are pretending not to know anything and brought to Asir. They hand over the stolen gold, but pieces are missing. Inda and Wadi arrive, and Inda hands over the bracelet she found. Samin asks the million-dollar question. This gold is invisible to humans. How did you see it? What were you doing in that warehouse? The shameful truth comes out. Hendra and Ning were having an affair. They snuck into the Forbidden's warehouse to engage in illicit activities. Because they were committing an immoral act of lust in a place charged with spiritual energy, their third eye was forcibly opened, allowing them to see the spirit gold. They saw the statue, the gold, and in their greed, Ning stole it. Wadi listens to this confession, her world shattering. Her fiancé and her best friend. Betrayal doesn't begin to cover it. She screams in rage and grief. Ning begs for forgiveness, trying to touch her, but Wadi recoils in disgust and runs away, collapsing in a corner of the factory, sobbing. Suddenly, Wadi goes silent. Her body levitates off the ground. The old woman Jinn has possessed her. She floats back to the group, pointing a finger at them. Instantly, every worker in the vicinity becomes possessed. They turn into a mindless horde, rushing to the ritual site to eat the glass and burning coals. Asir battles the possessed Wadi. It's a spiritual showdown. Just as Asir seems to win, Inda collapses. She enters a trance, traveling back in time. She sees a vision of the past. She sees a bride and groom being led into the cane fields. They are thrown into a pit and buried alive. This is what the jinns want, a voice says. A human sacrifice, a bride and a groom. Inda wakes up screaming. They want a sacrifice. She tells Samin, they want Ning and Hendra as the bride and groom. Ning and Hendra are terrified, begging for their lives. But the pact has been broken, a debt must be paid. Samin and Asir prepare the ritual. They have no choice. However, Inda and Fatal beg Samin to try one last trick. Don't kill them, they plead. Use magic to fool the jinns. Samin agrees to try. They make 2 effigies dolls made of straw. They cut Ning and Hendra's hands and smear their blood on the dolls to mimic their scent. They place Ning and Hendra inside a room surrounded by a circle of holy salt. Stay inside the circle, they are told. Whatever happens, do not leave the circle. Samin and Asir take the dolls to the field and bury them, performing the funeral rites, hoping the jinns will take the dolls instead of the humans. Back in the room, Hendra is weeping, begging Wadi, who is watching them, for forgiveness. I know you don't love me anymore, he cries, but please forgive me before I die. Wadi stares at him, broken, saying nothing. Suddenly, an invisible force enters the room. A wind sweeps across the floor, breaking the line of salt. The door slams shut and locks itself. The group outside bangs on the door, trying to break it down. Inside, the screams of Ning and Hendra are cut short. Finally, the door swings open. The room is empty. Only the 2 straw dolls lie on the floor. The jinns were not fooled. They took the real humans. Fatal realizes what happened and sprints to the burial site in the cane field. Stop! He yells. They took them. They frantically dig up the grave they just filled. Asir and Samin collapse, possessed by the laughing Jinn King. Did you think you could fool Maharatu? The entity mocks. They clear the dirt. Lying in the pit dead are Ning and Hendra. Their faces are frozen in terror. The sacrifice is complete, the debt is paid, the survivors are sent home. The factory is closed down. As the truck drives away, carrying the traumatized workers back to their villages, Fatal looks over at Inda. She is sleeping. But looking over her shoulder, staring directly at him, is the old woman Jinn. It smiles. It never left. The story ends with Samin and Asir trying one last time to appease the spirits with a cow, but the spirits rejected again, attacking the shamans instead. The factory remains a cursed place, waiting for the next fool to break the rules.